Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I'm your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. Listen, I just wanted to provide an update because the man himself, Vic Mignogna, has made a statement through his Twitter account that alleviates some of the concerns people have had about my GoFundMe campaign to raise funds for Vic. And Look, I understand the concern people have. Now, of course, for me to lie about this or misrepresent it would be risking my law license and also could be fraud and would be criminal. So I obviously wasn't going to do that. However, I do understand that people want confirmation. They want to be sure that they're donating to something that is legitimate because there are a lot of scams out there. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Guys, I'm relatively public. My information is in the Minnesota Attorney Registration Database, so you can actually verify who I am. And believe me, if I were committing some sort of fraud, they would find me very easily. That's just the way of the world, okay? So let me be very clear. This is obviously the legitimate GoFundMe campaign. It is over $19,000 since I opened it up yesterday evening. Thank you so much for the support you're showing to Vic. I know he really appreciates it. I really appreciate the support and faith that you're putting in me. And I promise you that the money will be put directly towards legal fees. And if there's any extra money after legal fees, Vic has directed me to donate that money, which I will never have this money in my possession or in a bank account that I own or anything like that. Let's be very clear about that. But Vic has directed me to donate the excess funds to a Dallas County Salvation Army shelter for victims of abuse. So that will be done. But you know what? Actually, why am I still talking? Let's read the words of Vic himself. This was sent by Vic's verified Twitter account. It was sent at 7:32 p.m. Central Time on February 20th. Okay, let's read this statement. Words cannot express the depth of my gratitude for all the kindness and support that has been shown to me over the last few weeks. I had hoped that my apologies and acknowledgments, both public and private, would be received. But I have now, very reluctantly, retained a law firm as my last and only recourse to attempt to salvage my reputation and my 20-year career in this industry. A friend expressed a desire to set up a GoFundMe for legal expenses. I approved his kind offer and am so grateful, but I am not managing it, nor will I personally receive any of it. Any surplus will go to the Salvation Army Dallas Domestic Violence and Abuse Shelters. I hold no malice toward anyone. I just love my work and the fans and sincerely wish to continue. So that is a statement from Vic. He has retained legal counsel. He has he has approved this GoFundMe to be established. It will not go to him directly. It will not go to me. This is a place where fans can show their support. And the extra, of course, will go to a worthy charity against domestic violence and for the victims of domestic violence. Okay, that said, let's talk about something. Last night on my live stream, I laid out a potential full offense legal strategy that could be used to put lots of pressure very quickly on several people, key people, public people, not so public people. All of them could be answering a lot of questions very quickly if an aggressive attorney is running the show. Now, Vic has said he has reluctantly retained a law firm. So what strategy they will ultimately use, I don't know. I'm proposing a possible way that a law firm could move very, very quickly, much quicker than most people are accustomed to law firms moving. And were I the sole arbiter of everything and in charge of all sorts of, in charge of Vic's legal defense and had full authority, you better believe I would run each and every person into the ground because that, given the resources and the go-ahead to do it, that is how I would probably fight this thing as aggressively as possible. And if his law firm decides to do that, if they decide to do that, I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that. Now, what's the solution, right? Is this inevitable? No, of course it's not inevitable. What legal strategy they come up with will be their own. However, let me be very clear about this, because a lot of people, I mean, I forget all the time, it's weird. I talk about law, I talk about the legal process. I've been in it for a little while. I have an education that goes back before my professional experience. And you kind of get used to how things actually operate. But when you start talking about it publicly and interacting with people, especially people who disagree with you, they tend to not actually realize what the process looks like. One, most people, thank God, have not had to deal with the legal system in the US, which can be fast and brutal or tedious, arduous, and draining. It can be absolutely devastating in either way. But the people who have had to deal with it usually only deal with it in one, maybe two ways. Most people don't go through lawsuits very often, if ever. And again, thank God for that, because it's such a mess. And it's so draining on resources, on time, on your psyche, on your emotions. It is a painful thing to endure, okay? For every party involved. Make no mistake. Now, with that said, most people don't realize that this can happen very quickly, and that leads me to think that most people don't realize that if this happens very quickly, if this goes to the point where lawsuits are actually being filed in court, people are being served, people are being scheduled for depositions, discovery starts happening, and real activity starts going in the public sphere, then suddenly you have to respond. And if you don't, you lose. Make no mistake, if you don't respond, you lose. So if you're suddenly forced to take a public position that you may not have wanted to take, you lose a lot of opportunities. There are ways out of this. And the way out is, of course, you start talking to the other team behind the scenes. This happens all the time. So the reason for this message is twofold, okay? Legal fees start the moment a lawyer is retained. They start doing work. They start doing research. They start conducting interviews. They start planning strategy sessions. Things happen right away. So money starts changing hands very quickly. That's the nature of legal work. That's how it goes. All right. That's the first part. So I do want to let you all know that him saying he has retained a law firm means that money is going to start being paid to attorneys as soon as the trust account is fully established. And I will make an update on that as soon as it's done. The next point on this is that once that happens, or not even once that happens, legal work is already happening. And sometimes legal things get resolved without going to trial. Sometimes in the wonderful land of every attorney's wish, you can resolve things without people having to make the fight public. You can take things lawyer to lawyer, counsel to counsel, and you can start to work them out. I would encourage people, I'd really encourage it. The legal system is adversarial, and you can translate that to vicious and ugly. Once you start going to trial, I mean, you can resolve things later. After things are filed, you can certainly come to an agreement. But once that agreement, once those papers go out, once they become public, once the public gets to see the accusations against you, the evidence against you, the depositions, the answers that you have to answer in those depositions. Once the public starts to see that stuff, sometimes there's no going back from that. It can be very damaging to reputations of people, it can be damaging to careers, and it can be damaging to businesses. I laid all of this out last night in a live stream, and if you want to go watch it, it's someone timestamped it where that part really takes off. But go look at it. It isn't pretty. But you can resolve things quietly, civilly, in an alternative manner to a lawsuit. It happens all the time. And I would encourage anybody out there who might be a target of this to strongly consider how they go about doing that. Strongly consider that. Because things get real and things get real ugly really fast. So I'm not going to sit here and go through it again and lay out over and over just how horrifying it can be to go through this process. Just if you believe me on nothing else, believe me on this. No one wants to go through a lawsuit. And if you think you do, I'm sorry, you're wrong. So anyway, I just wanted to go ahead and give this update from Vic. Go ahead and let you guys know that he has confirmed it, which I am very grateful for because it allows people to have the assurance that they need. Give you an update on the fund. We're over $19,000 and still rising. Thank you so much for your support. Please share. If you can't contribute, but you stand with Vic, please share it. That's all. That would be wonderful. And I'm sure he would very much appreciate even that. Absolutely. So we will be covering, of course, the case. Whatever happens, it will be covered as to the extent that's possible on my channel. So if you have not already, please like and subscribe and all of that good stuff. And know that one final thing, if you're out there, I would strongly consider talking to your attorney about the wisdom of making some early communications before things get filed, before things get expensive, and before things get ugly. My favorite thing on earth as an attorney is to go to my client and say, we don't have to file. We can actually work this out. Nothing makes me happier. I make a lot less money when that happens. A lot less money when that happens. But nothing makes me happier than being able to say, you don't have to go through this. Let's deal with it now. So I would encourage you to talk to your attorneys and do the same thing. See if that option is viable for you. Just personal friendly advice. All right. Thanks for watching, y'all. Have a nice day. Peace.